Your new album sounds a lot, and I don't mean this disrespectful, like in the 80s, in a good way, some parts of it. Why? I mean, was that a time travel for you?
We were being referential to our first 4 albums. I think when we started making English Electric, we decided that we should look back at what worked in our first 4 albums. For us, the first 4 albums were probably the most complete in a way, and had our biggest sort of OMD signature on. That's where we started from. That was our starting point. And then from there on, we kind of moved away. I think in some ways, for various reasons, our songwriting became a little bit more conservative and a little bit more conventional.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. I think the reason why it resonates with people as actually sounding old is it's not so much it sounds old, it's actually we have decided to start writing songs in the way that we invented for ourselves. Because when we started, we had virtually no instruments and we couldn't play anything. So we just had to invent a way of writing that fitted what we had and how we could work. So that quite by chance we invented a very unusual way of constructing songs. It wasn't just verse, chorus, ooh baby, I love you, etc. We wrote songs about things that interested us. We consciously tried to avoid kind of what we saw as rock and roll cliche lyrics, and we'd start with the sound and we go, we like that for 2 minutes, and then we'd do something else, and then we'd do something else, and then we'd stop. So the way we constructed the songs on English Electric is the way we used to do it. And essentially what we've tried to do is unlearn the last 30 years of becoming more conventional.
I think so. And I think, a kind of an OMD signature of the first 4 albums as well was that the chorus was very rarely a sung chorus. The chorus was actually a keyboard melody. And we've kind of returned to that as well.
Do you think it's important that you always invent or redefine yourself and invent something new and become something new?
It's always been part of the ethos that we try to do something that's new to us, because it's actually the way we get inspired to make music. We don't sit down with a piano or a guitar and just say, oh, we're going to write a song today and here's some chords and we'll make some words.
We don't work that way at all.
We actually can't get inspired that way. We have to start with an idea, like, oh, I heard this sound, or how about we write a song about Voyager 1 going across the solar system, or the aeroplane that dropped the atom bomb. It's when we get inspired by something, which is not normally how people take their inspiration for making music, that's when we get excited. So I think that's very much how we work. It's really important that the energy comes from the idea. Ultimately, it becomes a piece of music, and if it's not a good melody and people can't remember the lyrics, it's not really going to be very popular. But we have to experiment to begin with, and then hope we carry that experiment through our excitement and energy to make a strong piece of music.
Yeah, and I think we have kind of a natural knack of writing melodies as well. But we don't ever start with the melody. It starts with the idea and something quite abstract, and quite often the melody which people know the song for was the last thing we wrote for it.
And today is yesterday, you sing, I think it's Metroland. What do you mean by that?
Well, Metroland it comes from a sales slogan from the Metropolitan Railway to encourage people to move out of the city centre of London, to move out into the beautiful countryside with the trees and the fields and the cows. Of course, 1 million people moved out, and then there was no trees or fields or cows. And so we see that song really as a metaphor for kind of like the very act of reaching for paradise actually destroys it. So again, it's very conceptual, the whole thing about it. So today is yesterday is just, it's cyclical. Everything just keeps repeating.
When you started out, what did you think was the future of music?
Well, we thought, as kids in the mid-70s, we thought the future of music was electronic music. And all our friends and what we were listening to was kind of the rock and pop of the time. And then we discovered Kraftwerk. We heard Autobahn on the radio, and it was kind of the first day of the rest of our lives, really. Because we thought, now that sounds like the future to me.
it opened up a world of possibilities. That was the most important thing, is that we goes back to saying we didn't want to just repeat cliches. We were interested in concepts, and Kraftwerk's music combined the concept but also melodies. And also, as kids who had no equipment, the Radioactivity album for us was a Bible, because we were literally like, okay, they have made music out of Geiger counters and chopped up vocals and distorted radios and interference. Well, we can do that. We might not have a big synthesizer, but we can make things out of found sound. So I think the whole ethos was to try to do something different. And the electronic music scene, it wasn't a crusade to make the synthesizer the only instrument in the world. It's just the possibilities just seem much more open.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got you've got a much broader palette from the rock format. I mean, we were in a sort of a school band that was the traditional rock format, and it was very, very limiting. There's only so many things you could do. For us, for the kind of ideas we had, we needed a much broader palette, and synthesizers and electronics provided us with that.
What happened then?
Well, you see, the interesting thing is that this Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark really was the culmination of 3 years of Paul and I, as teenagers, in the back room at his mum's house, just experimenting, making noises, largely because we didn't have conventional keyboards. I mean, Paul used to make things that just made noises, because we had no money, so we just had to invent our own instruments as well as our own music. And for 3 years we just sort of made noises, and all of our best friends who were into kind of the prog rock of the 70s just thought that what we were doing was absolutely terrible and not music at all. So we just assumed they were right, and we just stayed in the back room. And then finally in 1978 we started to hear electric things happening, and we thought, well, maybe we could dare to go on stage and just do what we've been doing without the drums and without the guitars. And that was fine, because our friends didn't want to play with us anyway. So
that's why we were a duo. We couldn't find anyone else to play with us.
We got a tape recorder. And that was it. We just, we went and did this one concert just to say we'd done a concert. Okay, let's take all of our ideas, do them our way once, and then we can say, okay, we did it, and get on with the rest of our lives. Well, it turned out that one concert became the rest of our lives, because 35 years later, we're still in this band called Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, that we invented the name to show that we were a crazy, stupid idea as a band, and we're still stuck with it.
Yeah, we're a band that's never really had a plan.
It's a 35-year accident.
Yeah, we had one plan to go on stage, and the rest of it, doors would open or things would appear, and we'd say, yeah, let's do that. But we never, ever had a master plan. Maybe that was a good thing, maybe that was a bad thing, who knows. But that's life as Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark.
And then how do you cope with rock and roll never really died?
Well, we thought we killed it off, you see. We thought we killed it off, and then we got to the mid-90s and realised that it's going to be around forever. And it was very hard for OMD and electronic music to exist, apart from the dance scene, which was something else. But in electronic pop was hard to exist. It was almost impossible to exist in the mid-90s.
It was perceived as out of fashion, because the 90s was the beginning of the postmodern era, which we didn't understand at the time, because we were really shocked that, we'd written Electricity 20 years earlier, trying to be the future, trying to deconstruct rock and roll cliches and do something new and fresh. And we were expecting somebody to come along and replace us, because we thought everything worked in a line, and this year's new is next year's out of fashion. That was okay, we could understand that. But what we had difficulty understanding was that what we tried to make as the future was the past, because the future sounded like 1969. That was quite confusing.
Very confusing, which is why we stopped making music for a while.
And we're still confused, because electronic music came back into fashion again recently, but now apparently the future sounds like banjo music.
Did you ever consider giving up, really, to rock and roll?
Giving up to rock and roll?
4 times already today we've considered giving up. It's.
Or do you mean giving up to rock and roll? You mean going to the dark side? Never.
It's interesting actually, because when we play live, we do incorporate elements that
Of rock,
perhaps
yeah.
when we were younger we would have considered cliches. But you know, you want the audience to have a strong emotional, physical reaction. So you can't just be purely cerebral, totally concept. You know, you don't just want them to go, "Oh, that was a very good idea, wasn't it?" Yes. Golly, dear. You know,
No,
you
it
do
doesn't
want-
make for nights of entertainment.
You want some physical action.
You want some energy, and so we take, I guess, some of those rock elements to in our live presentation, but never on record.
But we always make it clear to them that we're asking them to participate in a rock and roll cliche by clapping their hands and shouting, "Hey, hey."
Oh, so it's not really serious.
No, we are pretending. We're fighting from the inside. Are we? Yes, we are.
Yeah, we are.
So what do you think today is the future, will be the future of music from your today's point?
Well, it's a very, very difficult question. I mean, when we started English Electric, our mantra was, what does the future sound like? That's what we said to ourselves. And
Did we find out?
no, I don't think we did.
No, we didn't.
We didn't.
We tried.
But it was an interesting question, and that question drove us forward.
I think the thing is that we're in our 50s now. I'm not sure we are the right people to find out what the future sounds
No,
like.
I
We should
don't
probably
think
be
we are.
asking a 17-year-old. But 17-year-old, probably the future actually is not interested, is not even music. The future sounds like a video game soundtrack, because actually most young people now are much more interested in social networks and video games. Music is not as important as it used to be. Music is now
To the
just
younger generation,
part of a wider media landscape.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, when we were younger and several generations before and after us, music was central to how you defined yourself. It was how you know, when you were a teenager, it was like you created your own self-image. It was your hair, your clothes, and your music. It's not like that now. Music is not so important. It's just part of a wider scene. So I don't know. I think, to be honest, I think the future of music is going to be forever this kind of scattered postmodern bits of this and bits of that, you know.
I think so too.
Also, I think the technology is set at the moment that nothing totally new has suddenly happened that's going to dramatically alter. I mean, you know, essentially we were very lucky because we happened to be just before the crest of a wave of cheap available electronic instruments that we could afford, because we weren't rich, you know. We couldn't afford the great big things that cost thousands of pounds. So in the same way that electric guitars invented rock and roll, cheap Japanese synthesizers invented synth pop, which we happen to be part of. But is there a new technology that's going to suddenly create a new style? I don't know.
Probably not.
You already touched it a couple of minutes ago. I just want to go back to that. When you started, what were the topics you were interested in? Because you said it wasn't, it was more technical stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we never wanted to write songs about, just traditional love songs. We always wanted to have songs about just things we were interested in at the time, and so, you know, we're a bit geeky, Andy and I. We're into kind of quite geeky.
bit.
things.
We're very geeky,
okay.
be honest.
Sorry, we're very geeky, and we've been interested in Second World War aircraft. Really interested in the whole of the Second World War, because we grew up hearing stories about the Second World War through our mums and dads.
You've got to remember,
that
Britain thinks it's its finest hour. You know, it's 70 years ago now,
Yeah.
but they're still
Yeah.
reliving it because they think it was the best thing that ever happened to them. You know, which is
but through that interest, we got interested in aeroplanes and Second World War aircraft, and so that's where Enola Gay came from that interest, and the Messerschmitt twins and things like that we did, and Bunker Soldiers.
But Enola Gay is a really strange title for a very colourful song.
Yeah, I mean, it's when it comes to the lyrics, I've always been fascinated. I have recurring themes. I'm fascinated by religion, even though I'm an atheist, and I'm fascinated by warfare, even though I do not glory in killing people. I'm amazed at the surety that people are so sure, I'm right, you're wrong, and I'm going to kill you. I find that amazing but horrifying. So I'm drawn to it like a moth to a flame. I write songs about it. So Enola Gay really comes from, one, the geeky fascination with airplanes. I mean, listen, when we weren't writing music, we used to build model train sets and model aeroplanes. Okay, we are real nerds, okay? The whole music thing is just, we are nerds pretending to be pop stars. And we've done quite well for 35 years, but don't tell anybody, all right?
We've done really well in hiding it so far, so we better not tell anyone.
He's actually a failed electrician and I'm a failed archaeologist. This whole music thing is just, basically a failure. We didn't want to do it. It's just an accident. But so Enola Gay, fascination with warfare, fascination with the aeroplane. I mean, it's the plane that dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. It's the most important plane in the history of the 20th century, I think, and also weird because it was named after the pilot's mother, which is a very strange way to remember your mother.
But then the song is quite happy.
Well, yeah, that's the essential sort of dichotomy of our music. That we do quite melancholy, sad subjects, and we shroud them in this sort of euphoric energy. I guess we're just schizophrenic, aren't we?
I think basically that's what it is.
So was there any kind of idea or plan, or could you have imagined 30 years ago to still be on stage together?
I never thought we would. I didn't think we'd. I mean, the thing was, we always budgeted for failure. I mean, we signed our first record deal with Virgin Records, subsidiary Virgin Records. We signed a 7-album deal, and we thought they were completely mad to sign us for 7 albums. And we thought after the first album we'd get totally found out, and then they'd drop us. So we spent all of our initial advance on building a studio, so we'd have a business at the end of it. Yeah. So we never expected to be 35 years later playing a sold-out show in London.
Yeah, it goes back to the fact that, we started writing songs that everybody told us were rubbish. So we just assumed it was weird and nobody would want to buy it. So it was an amazing journey, and nobody was more surprised than we were when, record after record just seemed to get bigger and bigger for a few years. And, we'd be doing a TV show, somewhere in the world, doing Musikladen or Wetten, Das or Top of the Pops or something. And just before the cameras rolled, we'd be like, we'd look at each other and go, how the hell did this happen? Shh, just keep pretending. I think that the important thing is that we don't take it for granted. We don't take ourselves too seriously. Absolutely. We take our music as our art seriously,
but not ourselves.
We don't take the business too seriously. And I think if you don't take the business too seriously, that's a very good recipe for surviving it, actually.
You're on tour right now and also coming to Germany. Do you still ride on the tour bus?
Actually, when we tour Germany, it's really interesting. It's the only place in the world where we travel by train. We go between the shows by train because we love the train. The train system is hyper efficient, of course, and they're incredibly comfortable. And the road systems are a bit messed up in Germany. You end up in loads of traffic, always driving, and we love the speed of the trains.
I mean, obviously, we have our own special ICE coach that's golden with champagne and caviar, which don't let anybody else in.
Got jacuzzi in there.
But we do use the public network, the rail. The coach is ours, nobody's allowed on it. But we use the public network.
And yesterday we also heard Maid of Orleans. Mm-hmm. Do you still like playing that? Or how do you avoid getting bored playing it?
Well, people ask us this all the time. I mean, these are songs that have been very, very good to us, and we still love these songs, and we're very proud of these songs. Okay, it gets a bit repetitious. We played these songs for 30-something years, but you look beyond that. I mean, these songs are like. It's very important for us to play these songs. I mean, some bands kind of cop out and they do medleys or they do an acoustic version of them or something. But we're very, very proud of them, and we want to give people that experience. I mean, songs are like little time capsules. They capture moments of your life. You hang memories of events in your life on these songs, but you only kind of relive them when they're played and how you remember them properly.
It's disrespectful to the song and to the audience not to do it properly. And as Paul said, these songs have been very good to us. We're very proud of them. And you know what? They still sound great. People love them. How could you not enjoy playing them? I don't understand why people get bored of their old songs.
These songs are our children. You don't disrespect your children, do you?
There's this very famous German punk band called the Ärzte. They've been around for 30 years as well. And they one song they don't play anymore because they have the masses, because everybody knows it. And they go, okay, no, we don't want to play that.
And their audience is disappointed, probably. Why do you want to disappoint people who pay money to come and see you?
I mean, the other thing is, because we're such bad musicians, we're actually still practicing the songs. So when we get them right, maybe we'll get bored of them. But we're still actually practicing
Still striving to get them right.
And are there other songs you don't play anymore, or were songs you feel ashamed for and you can't really take them back because they were so successful?
I mean, obviously, with a big body of work like we have, there will be songs that don't work for us anymore. Sorry, stop.
Sorry. It's okay now, there was a kind of interview.
Oh, see.
Oh, okay.
More questions.
Yeah, obviously, with such a body of work over so many years, there will be songs that we look back on and go, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. But generally, we're proud of all the work we've done, because we've put so much effort into all the albums we've made that all the songs exist for a good reason. But when you play live, obviously, there is so many songs, you're going to disappoint someone by not playing their favourite obscure track on a particular album.
That's the difficulty. I mean, we've got 12 albums. We can't play every song, and we try to balance it. You know, if we don't play somebody's favourite, it's not because we're doing it just to piss them off. It's just because we don't have enough time. We can't be on stage for 10 hours. So we try to have a good mixture. But you know what? The important thing is, I mean, we are enjoying playing the new tracks from English Electric, but we're not playing the whole album. We're not stupid enough to think that everybody wants to hear the whole new album. We're very proud of it. We think it's great. But if people have spent money to come and see you, they are coming to relive some of their favourite memories, and they want us to play the songs they know and the big hits. Let's be honest, most people in the audience, know them from the radio. They might have one or two albums, maybe they'll have the best of. So, we play 22 songs. 14 of them are singles, because that's, again, being respectful to your audience.
And were you never ever tempted to play punk music or anything like that?
We do,
We
on
do.
synthesizers.
Yeah, it was punk. In the very beginnings of OMD was punk on synths.
They played 3 chords, we played with 1
2
finger.
notes.
That's good. And how do you cope, coming back to the beginning, how do you cope in general with having the wrong vision of the future of music?
Well, you know what? We're still trying to make people understand that they need to give up the guitar solos. But, everybody has their strange sicknesses, and we understand. Some people support Manchester United.
People support Liverpool.
Some people play lead guitar solos. We all have little dark secrets that we shouldn't really indulge in, but we do. So, and maybe trying to be the future is our dark secret.